Hello. Just waiting to see if I have any company tonight. And I'll be right back. Hey.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Okay. Oh, you look pretty in pink.
Thank you.
Is Gio coming?
Yeah, it looks like she's having some trouble with the link, so I'm over here now, trying to troubleshoot. You didn't have to put in a passcode, did you?
Yes, we did. You
Oh,
want
you
me to put it in
did?
chat? I'll write it in chat because I almost didn't see it. I'll write it in chat in a private message.
Okay. Do you normally have to put in a passcode?
Nope, that's why I was surprised.
Huh. Let me, here she is.
Okay, it was me. I totally fat fingered those numbers.
Okay, well, Karen was saying they were asking her for a passcode tonight also, and that's not normal, right?
No, it's not. And I know I've been watching a few webinars this week, so I'm like, well, did I need to reset something on accident? I don't.
Oh, I keep getting messages, new tutorials, or I don't know what the hell. Or when I go into Zoom and I just, click them off and don't pay any attention. But maybe something has changed. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be some security, hackers and whatever. We got stuff going on.
Right. Okay, so I will try to watch the tutorial. One of the problems, because my brother's been inviting me too, is that they're doing these live webinars on Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Oh.
So to teach you the new Zoom. So that doesn't work for me. But I did say I was going to go look for the recordings to watch it. So anyway, we are now all here. So good. Welcome. And we may as well go ahead and get started. I guess all the folks that have not come back from the beginning, I guess they're not coming back. Leonie, Kim, who else? I don't know.
Because I got an email from, her business. She has conference, some classes, things going on. But so that's probably why she's not coming.
Okay. And Nicole had said she was going to join us, so I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, we are here and moving along. How can I close that?
I like how you don't have your hair out. That's good. I'm sorry to have my hair out too.
Yeah. I braided it and I like the Cantu products, but they have a new one. It's a cream that it's supposed to give you a little curl. I have a real tight curl, naturally, but I like the softness that it gives to my hair. So tonight I was experimenting with, what would happen if I braided my hair with this cream?
Nice.
Thank you.
products. I do use.
Huh?
I said, yeah, Cantu has some nice products. I do use those. They're economical.
Yeah, yeah. And they don't have a lot of chemicals stuff in them. So, yeah. Okay, who's doing?
Going on. I said, you're always looking nice, Karen.
Oh, yeah. My t-shirt. I got this is from Target, the Black History, during Black History Month.
Yes.
It has some Black History clothes and other items.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
They were doing nice, very nice.
Yeah. And you have your hair out, Jill.
Yeah, I was trying a little something, but the wind said, "What you doing?"
No, it's cute.
Yeah, it looks nice. I like that coloring. The color.
Thanks. That's the Indian henna, some concoction. Something.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. I should try that. I used to try henna. I might try that again.
Yeah, it's good. It strengthens your hair, gives you some protein. So you just have to be aware, how much protein your hair will take.
Oh, okay. And what's the name of the product?
It is, I'll share it. I have to text it to you.
Okay.
It's in a green package. I get it off of Amazon.
Oh, okay.
I'll text you the name of it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So welcome everybody to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle, session 17. We are currently reading the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honorée Fanonne Jeffers. And it's a big one, so we'll be here for a while on Wednesday 7. You can learn more about the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle on Facebook. We post events on our website called Reading Changes Lives.wordpress.com or the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle on YouTube, where I have, hoped that our archives from all of the 17 public book discussions that we've had would be safe forever. But I just heard on Democracy Now! That YouTube has deleted all 6 years worth of Chris Hedges.
Oh no.
Video, the On Contact series.
Yeah.
Something to do with, I guess, how they feel about Russia and whatnot.
Right.
But his comment was, well, if they can do this to me, they can do this to you. So, fortunately, I do have downloaded copies of all of the videos, but they're kind of scattered over various computers and disks, and it would really be a hot mess to try to reorganize all of that stuff. So for now, you can find our archived videos on YouTube.
Okay.
My name's Michelle Odom. I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Miss Karen Johnson, and I'm in Salt Lake City. This is my copy.
Hey.
And I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina. And my copy is digital. It's here.
Good enough. So I was giggling to myself because we were having this conversation about hair, and it made me think about the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock situation, which I was going to bring up anyway, but we may as well go ahead and segue from our hairstyle concerns to that situation. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's all over the place, isn't it? At first, I thought, well, look, the Oscars viewership has been flagging for years now, and it was a stunt, because these are two respected actors. And I just can't imagine them having a physical altercation in public that didn't involve alcohol and I don't know, trap music. I don't know. Just okay. Just So, but I think, when I pull back from all the media, and the knee-jerk reactions from one end of the spectrum to the other, I have to look at two things. One is how we treat each other in public. And two is when you place all of your personal business on social media platforms, nothing is off the table. Okay. And somebody needs to burn that red table down, but it might happen. But you place yourself in a vulnerable position. And you look around that Oscar room, and there's so much experience in the audience. And Will Smith, he references Denzel, and then there were some other people who came up to console him. But at what point? Okay, I'm just going to say Jada has to share some of that blame, right? Because it's a sensitive topic, and you're sitting up front. You're the target of the comedian. Everybody knows this in the comedy club, right? If you're sitting up front, the comedian's going to pick on you. Now, good or bad, how you handle the situation tells a lot about you as a person, right? People are going to say stuff all the time. And I think if I had put myself in her place, I think I probably would just grab Will and say, baby, sit down. This ain't the place, we'll handle it later. Keep the, because this is a great night for him. But now it's all overshadowed and opening their family up to a lot of judgment, extra judgment that they really don't need right now. And who knows what's going to happen to his career. A lot of other people, stars, they bounce back from crazy stuff like this. But we're in an extraordinary period in history where most people are just, the cheese is just gripping the cracker by like 2 crumbs. They are just, there's a lot of mental illness out there. And we probably saw Will expressing some of his, right? Because it's pressure, right? It looks easy from the outside, but if your life is on display 24/7 because that's how you make your money, that's got to take a toll on your mental health. And so, hey, your lifestyle is your lifestyle, but then when there are repercussions, you have to know how to adult in it, right? How to deal with it. So to lessen the destructive forces. So that was just a mess. And now, we have the alopecia thing. Oh, yes, that, it's a condition. It's brought on by various things. But now what could have been a more constructive conversation about it is now mixed up with all this other stuff that, it's not going to help, any of them get any better, just some sad drama,
Yeah, it was. I guess I was going to bring it up, even though I'm sick of talking about it. But the chapter this week, Feminism, Womanism, or whatever. There were so many connections to issues of feminism and patriarchy and defending my woman, and all of that going on, and who's responsible for what, and so that's why I thought we should give it some air. Yeah, but I've seen some very thoughtful articles and commentaries about it that really kind of get at some of the nuance of what was going on. And just, all the other stuff as well. So.
Yeah. I'm kind
Dr.
of
Karen.
I'm really just tired of it and want people to move on from that situation. Yeah. Because what it did, it does overshadow some of the historicals that happened at the Oscars, i.e. a Black man produced it. I thought that it was very diverse. I mean, he tried to make sure that there was gender diversity, racial diversity, disability, sexual orientation. And so I appreciate how he centered these social identities, right? The other thing is that Afro-Latina Baruca woman who wins an Oscar for West Side Story. And the other issue is the deaf guy who wins in the movie. And so by
Questlove.
Questlove, that's right. Then there were two Black men who had the music, the orchestra who played the music. Like the Latinx presence. And so to have a conversation about, this is why I'm tired of it, because it overshadows these firsts. And that this is a conversation, like a number of years ago, it was Oscar So White, where Will Smith and Jada Pinkett produced that hashtag. And then we have an Oscar that is really diverse, and all we're talking about is Will Smith and Chris Rock. And so I think that is just so unfortunate. I know that the Academy is looking into. I think that he probably should have some kind of form of punishment, because the Grammys will be coming on Sunday. So now I'm concerned, you this wealthy, worldwide famous celebrity, okay? If that was Kanye West, they would have arrested him and banned him. Okay, we know that, right? But Will Smith, this wealthy celebrity, worldwide, internationally known, and people stand up and applaud him. He could do that? What's going to happen at the Grammys? Because that's what they advertise in the Grammys in a few days. So I'm thinking, oh Lord, what's going to happen at the Grammys? Because you made it seem that it's okay. Well, we know that it's not okay in terms of, even though you defended your wife, I'm on that bandwagon. But then in retrospect and thinking about the whole thing, I feel that it was problematic. So I feel that the Academy really need to sanction him some kind of way. Maybe ban him from the Oscars. I don't think they need to take his Oscar away. I really hope they don't do that. But at least ban him or something. And I think that he needs to issue an apology. I know he came out and apologized to Chris Rock, but I would like to see him do either let us know if he does some type of apology to Chris Rock, either privately, to his family. That needs to be. And then, after the Oscars, it was showing clips of him partying away, he and his wife, like nothing ain't, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. The only conflict I've had about that, the question of whether or not he should be punished, is that we're living in this era where, you know, the former guy and his clan, you know, fomented insurrection against the country. And they're running around scot-free, partying like it's 1999. You know, and I, you know, and I know tit for tat is not right, you know, but it's also not right to constantly be fed this message that white people can do whatever they want, you know, but Black people have to be punished for every single transgression. You know, and also on Democracy Now this evening was the story about Joe Biden hugging the Ukrainian baby, you know, juxtaposed with the Haitians, you know, getting lashed, and, you know, and how there's no open door policy for them while the country is in the midst of offering shelter to up to 100,000 Ukrainians. You know, we're just constantly being fed these disparities that you know are nothing but wrong. So, you know, I'm kind of feeling like, you know what? Yeah, Will Smith was totally out of line, totally. You know, but maybe we should just let this, the Academy should just let this one go. I agree with a commentator, a Black guy who was on like the day after, and he was saying, you know, if the Academy had done something that night, if they had put him out that night, that's what they should have done. But at this point, they should let it go. So, you know, I don't know. But I agree with Gio that, you know, there were other things that Jada could have done. You know, I saw the eye roll that seemed to set Will off. As one of my girlfriends says, she could have put her leg out and tripped him. He was about to walk up there. But, you know, maybe she enjoyed that feeling of being defended. And I've seen some other Black women commentators, I think, who is it, Tiffany Haddish, saying, you know, how satisfying it was to see a Black woman being defended by a Black man, which I didn't perceive it that way. But, you know, there just really were a lot of dynamics going on there. The one thing I do appreciate about it, though, is it kind of knocked the Ukrainian story out of the box for a minute.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, in terms of the chapter, that first chapter. Let me read the summary to kind of get us back into that space. Where's my share thing? I did not publish an agenda, but this is the summary that is included with the invitation. This week, we conclude Song 4 on the talented 10th and move into song 5 on Negro migration. The chapter Feminism, Womanism, or whatever, Ailey and Abdul have a vigorous discussion on feminism versus patriarchy in Dr. Oludara's class, starting with Du Bois's intent by referring only to men in the talented 10th essay. Abdul sees feminism as a white woman's thing. Ailey is called out at a sorority rush party and made to cry for not knowing the details on one of the founders. She learns the sorors know Ailey's sister, Lydia, as they mock her. Burned on her bottom with cigarette butts by sorority members, Ailey is filled with anger the day after. Ailey and Abdul hook up even after soror Tiffany tries to stop them by calling Ailey a hoe. Then we go into song 5, and this is the first chapter in that section. This Bitter Earth. Belle, the 2-room schoolhouse principal's prize student, is in elementary school when Brown is decided. In Miss McClendon's footsteps, Belle sets her sights on becoming a teacher, one of the few professions open to Negroes, and attending Spelman, to her mother's dismay. Ultimately, Uncle Root persuades Miss Rose to allow Belle to attend Routledge, which is closer to home. We learn of Belle's brother, Roscoe, doing time on a murder rap and a period of lynching by the Franklin clan. Gender disparities on campus, colorism, and male-female relations form a good part of Belle's experience at Routledge. Uncle Root inspires students to value Negro women through the lens of Nina Du Bois, the first wife of W.E.B, who lost a child but bore another, and the people who flooded the South during Reconstruction to educate the newly freed, formerly enslaved masses. A boy from Detroit, Stanley Culpepper, who clearly does not value Black women, nearly rapes Belle and spreads false rumors about her. So those are the 2 chapters under discussion, and the beginning of in song 5.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah. I didn't understand why Haley hooked up with Abdul at the end, given the sort of misogynistic views he was championing earlier in class. So, any thoughts about what's going on there?
One thing I want to say, I don't particularly like Ailey, to be honest. I really don't like that character. And I just saw it as someone who's has low self-esteem. That's how I read that situation. He really has low self-esteem.
Yeah. I did too, and related to her experience with childhood sexual abuse.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because that boy was a pig. He don't deserve to get none.
All right.
Yeah, he sure had a lot to say in class.
One thing that, with regards to the conversation in class, When I was reading it, the arguments were not convincing to me. And the reason why I say that is because Ailey was born in the 70s. I think it was 1973. So if she's 18 years old as a freshman or a sophomore or whatever, 18 or 19, that we're talking about in the early 90s. And so the type of conversation, when I reflect on the social historical context in this nation, be it in the North or the South, I'm not convinced that these kind of conversations were happening in the classroom. It sounds more like, if it was the 80s, maybe I would say, but definitely the 70s and the 60s, but not young people who are who are in the post-civil rights era, in the New South, if you will, in the 90s, and having these kind of conversations, it was not convincing to me at all. And so I don't think that is reflective. It wasn't of the social historical context of the times. Does that make sense? Because I was teaching on the university level during that time frame, and people weren't talking like that. Even if they didn't understand feminism, womanism, classism, sexism, etc., they were not having the kind of conversations that she's having and her classmates, as if it's the 1950s and 60s and 70s. And so that whole chapter I actually didn't like. I thought it was ridiculous. And then it needed some kind of, she needed to do research. What were young people talking about in the early 90s? The CDs came out during the time, and CDs players came out during that time frame. What else was happening? I mean, you have a whole different generation of young people that are exposed to things. Cell phones were being a little bit more, were coming out and being a little bit more accessible. Not quite, but a little bit more accessible during that time frame. So to have conversations about, it's like, you know what, this ain't working for me right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. I remember those kinds of conversations, but you're right, from an earlier time frame. Yeah. And so my reaction to it was, I'm tired of this conversation.
Well, yeah, I was surprised that a young man in that period would speak that way. And I know she references that he's a fan of Public Enemy, but I don't remember Public Enemy. Well, okay, I didn't listen to all of their music, but talking about women that way. So I don't know. I guess he's Abdul is a character to present a kind of, I don't know, maybe a hodgepodge of a particular mindset. I mean, he there could have been someone like him, but like Karen said, it did kind of feel like, oh, I'm out of time. Right. Yeah. When I was reading that. So, well, okay.
Yeah, it really was. Because believe me, I was teaching during that time frame, and those were not the kind of ignorance or stuck in a time warp kind of conversations that young people were having. Even though I'm not saying that during that in the 90s, people, you didn't have men or even women young who were not sexist or misogynist, etc. But it's the kind of conversation was not relevant to the 90s and a post-civil rights era group of young people. And even the educators in the piece seem to also be stuck in a time frame. So I think she should have, in my opinion, she should have done her research during that time. in terms of what were young people talking about, what was happening during that time frame, instead of just throwing in Public Enemy, what actually was going on in the classrooms, what were young people thinking about and doing during that time. Even the whole sorority thing, it's just literally, I'm like, where, wait, I'm like, what is she? I had to go back and look at, when was she born?
Yeah.
Well, maybe she's making a commentary about a Southern school in a Southern location that maybe
But
they're
we're
stuck
talking
in
about
time
this.
warp. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just throwing it out there.
It's a new South. It's the new South in the post civil rights era in the 90s.
Mhm.
So I'm not buying it in a school that's not far from Atlanta, Georgia.
In effect Thursday, March 3rd.
Yeah.
Because I was in Atlanta in the 80s and the 90s. Atlanta in the 80s, I moved from New York down to go to school in the early 80s. And I liked Atlanta, but I saw it as a big country town. It's not the Atlanta that I lived in the 80s up into the early 90s is not the Atlanta today. But I did, because I told you I went to Atlanta University, I was in the AU Center. I did see reminiscences, but this is in the 80s of I would say probably legacy generation. When I say legacy kids, and legacy in terms of their parents and their grandparents probably went here, right? And so those were the kind of kids that I saw in the 80s. I was a graduate student, so I wasn't in the undergrad. But in the 90s, we're talking about a whole different kind of group of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't like the chapter. It wasn't working for me. And in fact, I don't know if I could keep going on with this. I'll let y'all know if I'm gonna come back.
I can't go bail on this. No.
If this book wins the Pulitzer Prize, I follow a lot of booktubers and Instagrammers. One person that I follow says that this book has a high possibility of winning the Pulitzer Prize. And part of the Pulitzer Prize is that it looks at stories. It has to be an American story, US American story, that is reflective of the social, cultural, historical time frames, right? Like Toni Morrison won for Beloved. And so this fits that. This book fits that kind of saga, this intergenerational saga, which is very much American story. And so if this book wins, and they'll be, I think they'll be announcing next month. They don't do short list, long list, short list, but they'll announce if this book wins, I'll come back to the book club because y'all still be going on.
Well, I was about to say, is our pace maybe too slow for this book? Like, should we maybe double our reading to move through it quickly? Because I keep thinking, maybe as we get deeper into the book and start to see some of the pieces come together, it'll because I'm not seeing what all the hype has been about, but there's been a lot of hype. She did just recently win. The book National Book Circle?
Yeah, the National Book Circle.
Yeah, and and of course it was an Oprah book. Now, I never considered Oprah the deepest of minds that we have. And that's why I never feel compelled to follow the books that she's recommending. But there's just something about all the hype around this one that, made it attractive. But but that's something I think we can consider, maybe doubling how much we read per week and moving through it faster.
So this book has not only, I think with having an Oprah stamp on it. And I've read a number of books that Oprah have suggested in her book club. She is a reader. She is, I appreciate that she really reads and she thinks deeply about what she reads. And a number of books that she has recommended have been on awards lists. And I'm not sure if they're on awards lists because she recommended them, but they have been on awards lists. This book, Love Songs, have received so much accolades. New York Times, Best 100, New York Times, Best 10, Washington Post, pinned on so many lists, award lists, so many. Right. And so, the National Book Award, that's one of the biggest book award prizes here in this country. The Booker, that's a major British book award prize. But she's have not won any until this National Book Critics. But with regards to, I'm still working, and so we are coming into crunch time in terms of the end of the semester. And so that's, even if we were to increase our pace, I don't think I'll be able to do that because we're wrapping up. And I need to focus a lot on the work. And this is not the kind of book, and I was really thinking about it, that there are books where I'm so excited that my workday is over and I'm ready to crawl up in the bed and read my book. I'm not doing that with this book. Or go to a coffee house. I've not been to a coffee house in a long time, but I fantasize about doing that, reading my book. And so this chapter is like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I like her mama's story, but I can't do this no more. Sorry, ladies, but I can't.
Okay.
I appreciate your honesty. And I guess Gio and I should figure out what we want to do. Because I don't know. We're only like 200 and something pages into an 800-page book. Now,
that's just amazing. What is it you got to say? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now that is enough pages to either grab you or not grab you.
Right.
But, I guess, in my own writer's mind, I can still imagine how, another 200 pages in, and, so much stuff will start to evolve out of what we have seen thus far. And, I feel like we didn't write the book, so, but I feel like she misses opportunities to really go a little deeper into certain subjects. But again, I don't know how it's all going to play out over the next, 550 pages. But so, for instance, in this chapter, Feminism, Womanism, whatever, there's that debate that goes on between the students, but there's never like a real, definition of those terms. And so, maybe you're going to be the industrious reader who goes to find your own meaning for those terms, or maybe you're going to be left with no more understanding of those terms than before you read that chapter. And so I see her doing that a lot. And again, all I can imagine is that as time goes on, it would, because she does go back and forth, adding. So for instance, this chapter that ends song 4, they kind of look at that issue of Du Bois, referring only to men in the Talented Tenth issue. So that's a thread, that has run through this section, that essay, without, I don't know. I guess, as you were saying maybe a couple of weeks ago, Karen, just, you can imagine different ways that the book could have been written that might have been more satisfying. But, she's the writer, so I'm a little more willing to give her the space to see how she plans to do it.
And then in that chapter, going back to feminism and womanism, even the dialogue between the students is not deep and critical. And maybe I'm talking like this as an educator who teaches, concepts of Black feminism and womanism, right? And so I'm not hearing intellectual, deep, critical thinking conversations. I'll just hear that's barbershop beauty parlor kind of conversations.
Right.
No deep intellectual critiques of these ideas. And so only thing that she does, she said, and then she used some words, intersectional or whatever, I forgot the words were, or hegemony, whatever that she learned in class, but that's it, nothing deep. And I say that because I've taught these subjects, right? Feminism, womanism, etc., and define them in my undergrad students, and these are upper level undergrad students, bringing some deep stuff where I'm like, wow, I'm learning from you all. I love this dialogue that we're having. And it's not this petty stuff that is just basic conversation that you would find in a beauty parlor. They don't do that. My students don't do that. But for them, that's the other reason why I didn't like this chapter. I wasn't buying it.
Yeah. And also the whole kind of hazing, that went on with the sorority sisters.
Do they still do that kind of thing? Burn you on the butt with cigarettes?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but but also no kind of critique of that kind of behavior. But again, I mean, I don't know what's coming. It's a long way to go. So, but yeah, no, it was one of the more juvenile kind of chapters. Yeah. And then even the next chapter, This Bitter Earth, so the chapter is called This Bitter Earth, which of course refers to lynching. There's a little bit of type space given to the story about the Franklin family, engaging in lynching. But overall, it was, I wouldn't even call it a theme of the chapter. It didn't seem to get the depth of coverage that it could. But I mean, maybe that is why the book is so popular, because it touches on, a lot of important subjects without really pushing you. I mean, we're in this era, where little white children can't be made to feel bad, about slavery and that whole kind of thing. And maybe that's the appeal of the book, that you don't really feel much because it's such a cursory treatment of the pieces of history that are so difficult.
I think you said it. It's a bubblegum version of something that could be much deeper. And I'm not a writer, but I know what I like, and I like to be made to care about characters, whether I'm reading or watching something. And if you can't make me do that right away, you're probably going to lose me. So, yeah, so I mean, there are right now the characters are poster boards. They're cutouts. They don't have flesh and blood. I mean, we have to, at least I feel like when I'm reading it, I have to fill in with some kind of connection, you know, some kind of memory or something to fill in. Oh, well, this is probably how she feels, you know, going through it, because the description is very, I mean, 800 pages. I'm okay, you know, I'm like, well, okay. Let's, we can see what happens. But I'm not expecting a whole lot. Okay, I'm just not, because I'd rather be surprised than disappointed. So I'm not going to expect a lot. And a lot of things that people promote are because it's the flavor of the month or it's politically correct for that time. So, you know, that could be it. Or, you know, maybe people just, a lot of people just want this kind of, you know, eye food right now. But I'm reading a couple of books. This is like candy to me right now. You know, I'm just like,
you made a good point, Gio, in terms of saying the flavor of the month and people promoting books. Like I on Instagram, I follow Oprah and her book club. And I've purchased some of her books for the book club, and also I follow Reese. What's her name? Reese Witherspoon. She has her own book club, and also Jenna Bush. She has a book club, right? So and GMA as well. And there were some books that were suggested that I said, "Oh, this sounds good," and I did not like them. I didn't think that they measured up to the hype. That's what I want to say. They did not measure up to the hype. Like GMA, was it GMA or was it Reese? No, it was Reese Witherspoon. She had a book called Such a Young Age? That book was hyped. It really was hyped a couple of years ago. New York Times, it was on the Booker Prize. I also look to see if some of those books get on an awards list, and then I buy it. I'm going to stop doing that. If they don't make a short list, if they make a short list, and I'm going to start doing that instead of just grabbing them and buying them. But anyway, this book was supposed to be a book that dealt with a young woman, a millennial in the Northeast, who had to wrestle with issues of race and class. She was I liked the story, but I didn't think it was measured up to the hype of being a major book nationally and internationally. Internationally, because it makes it on the Booker Prize Award. And so I wound up being very disappointed. And then there's a lot of books that I noticed as soon as they recommend Oprah, Jenna Bush, Reese Witherspoon, GMA, they immediately hit the New York Times bestseller list. And I'm not going to buy books like that no more. It's not worth my money. I mean, I have a lot of books, a lot. And it's not worth my money for them to be on a D and F list. Did not finish. And this song, the song of this book, if it wins a Pulitzer Prize, and I'll pick it back up and read it. I will do that. But right now, it's on my D and F list. It's just hype.
Okay. And Gio, it sounds like you agree.
Well, I'm only finishing this because we're reading it together. I was just frustrated for a stack of books I have in my little reading area. Somebody told me, "Oh, you just trying to look busy." I'm like, "No, I need to read these books." I'm trying to read them.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there that is truly worthy of our time. Karen and I are reading Eddie Glaude, Begin Again, and I'm having a much more enjoyable time reading that one.
I am too. It's an easy read too.
It's an easy read, but very stimulating. He's got,
it is.
Got a lot to say. And, and like I said the other day, and James Baldwin, with such a that, just sort of getting more insight on his life, as well as the occasional quotes from Jimmy. Just make it a much more enjoyable book. Yeah, this is like candy. And nothing wrong with candy.
Yeah, we've had a tough 2 years, and so what's the criteria for our next book there, Michelle? What's the
Well,
I know you don't like friction. Right.
I don't, but if you're going to give me something like Marlon James, the Book of Night Women, that's historical fiction, that I can appreciate, that really kept my interest, that, I feel like deserves all the accolades he received. And, like I said, unlike y'all, I was willing to give the girl a chance.
We can still finish the book. We just gonna have to read a whole song section at a time so we can get through. But
want to do it like that, Gio? Me and you?
Yeah, we can do that.
She's like, yes, please. All right. Well, let's finish up for next week. We'll do the rest of section 5.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and get through it quickly, because I'm just, even Honorée didn't want it to be this long.
Wow.
I've seen her read an interview where she was saying she had done about, I think, 600 pages, and her editor or whoever was like, "Oh, we need to know more about this. And that's how it got to be so long. So I don't know if maybe it had been a little tighter, if she had really done what her first instinct was telling her to do. We might be at the point now in the book where, it was feeling more satisfying.
And that's interesting. I think if she had created the historical portion in a prologue and then done the songs in between Ailey's stuff, that might have been, it would have provided continuity, right? We would have been done with the historical stuff. We could have referenced back, you small lines to reference back to the history in the prologue, but just we could get to know Ailey without the extra stuff that's distracting from her, if that's who we're supposed to be concentrating on. That's just what I'm thinking about now.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
But she already wrote it, so here we go.
But I mean, it is a coming of age story, and and we are all people who came of age a while ago.
But the part of the coming of the age that I find when I think about coming of age stories, because I do see that, is that what takes away from it are the petty conversations that takes place. I think that I like coming of age stories that interact with the social historical context without the petty dialogue of Ailey. Like the mother, I enjoyed that chapter on the mother. And I enjoyed it because it wasn't the petty, bickering, immature dialogue that we are experience with Ailey. Okay. And I think that's like the book Coming of Age in Mississippi. I know that was a autobiography of Ann Moody when she grew up in rural Mississippi. That's a really good book. You all should check it out. She was part of the SNCC. And so she grew up as her parents were sharecroppers in rural Mississippi. And this book is still being used. It was written in the 60s. It's still being used on college universities because it ties to the civil rights era and the students involved in the civil rights era. So you didn't have the petty kind of back and forth dialogue. You had her experience of growing up in rural Mississippi during the Jim Crow era, and the experiences as a sharecropper, and the experiences that she was subjected to, her parents were subjected to, and the people in her community. And then to the point where she gets to a level of social consciousness of going to college in Mississippi and then become involved in the civil rights movement. And so it's a rich dialogue and understanding, and it allow you to still dance with her story and understand her lived conditions, as well as understand the social conditions she was subjected to, and her fight to change, to make society a better place. With Ailey, it's petty conversations in the classroom, back and forth bickering with Bois, and the conversations aren't even that deep. It's not even taking it to another level, and I'm kind of tired of it. I really am. Or her experience with the high school boy that she had, homeboy that she had. I mean, it's just petty, the coming of age dialogue and story. Even with A Catcher in the Rye, that was coming of age, right? And he reflects on his social identities as a teenager and his lived experience, but not using petty back and forth dialogue. Am I making sense with the coming of age? The mother is a coming of age. That little chapter is a coming of age story, but it doesn't have the petty dialogue. You see how her ignorant mom talks about not wanting her to go to college, or her experience in college. I mean, so it's the dialogue is, I at least can relate better and appreciate it better than Ailey's.
Yeah, it was nice. That was nice because you got to know the mom a little bit more. She was really fleshed out there with her feelings. And with Uncle Root, the involvement that he had with it. So that was nice. It was warm. And I get what you're saying, and maybe some people's college experiences are kind of vapid. But that doesn't make good copy. That doesn't make good reading material.
But we are reading at our normal slow pace, and so I like the idea, Gio, though, of doing it in big chunks, because I would like to get through it. I have a long list of, I didn't have a name for it, a DNF list.
At first, it sounded like some dirty words. Like, oh, Karen cursing, no.
Yeah, but no, I'd like to get to the end so that I really have, an opinion about what all the hype is about. But and so so let's do that. And anything else about this Bitter Earth chapter that I wanted to say?
Realize her mother was, I know her mother was, I didn't realize the way that the mother was described in terms of skin color. I didn't realize that she was very dark skinned. So that was surprising to me too. I thought she was brown skinned, but the way they described her as very dark skinned. So I thought I was surprised. And it also is reflective of the husband in terms of coming from a color conscious family, and him choosing a very dark skinned wife is reflective of his love and appreciation, even though we didn't talk about him in that chapter. He's not talked about in that chapter, but that was something that I learned about the mother. She was very dark skinned. So I'm sure Nana, this was.
Yeah, no, I knew she was dark. And there was a scene where when she met her future mother-in-law. Now I'm confused.
I don't remember that. In this chapter?
Who is it that met the mother-in-law where the mother-in-law was like, why you bring this girl home to me? She was like some kind of Caribbean. And then, I don't know, she found out something. Oh, God. I don't know. There was a scene where, and I think it was Belle, but it could have been another generation, where a dark boy in the family brought home, a light-skinned boy brought home this dark-skinned girl, and the mother was not happy about it at all. I think it was Belle.
Oh, okay.
Am I frozen?
Before she became enslaved, kidnapped. Was it Belle before she became enslaved?
Belle doesn't get enslaved, but
the previous generation.
Yeah, it might have been like somewhere in Nana's generation,
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
Yeah. So, but in this chapter, this Bitter Earth, that whole thing with the boy, Stanley, having expectations that he was going to have sex because he had done her some kind of favor, by taking her to the dance was really disgusting. I don't know if I've ever heard a story like that. I know boys have a tendency to, expect if they have watched dinner or done some tiny little thing, that they have earned rights that they have not earned. But I just never heard it in the context of I did you a favor by dating you, you know. So that's pretty nasty.
Well, it's a storyline that's been used a lot. Okay, I'll just say that.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it a lot in stories and in media, movies. And so, and of course, young women are warned about it, right? Don't get in a car with so and so, because they'll want you to put out.
Yeah.
How well do you know him? Do you know his folks? So it's kind of a cautionary tale. And luckily, mentioning her uncle as, the professor there held some weight for Stanley to like.
Gave her way out. Yeah.
Right. But I did appreciate how what she told her roommate there at the end. Well, yeah, it did kind of happen, but this, let me tell you, Stanley ain't all that. As a matter of fact, he's handicapped.
Yeah, she did that well. But it's also, I think the beginning threads, song 5 is about the migration, the northern migration. So it's also like the beginning threads of, this sort of different cultural. So he to me like represents that fast city boy, who doesn't understand our ways. And juxtaposed with Uncle Root giving his lessons on why we should respect Black women. That city boy don't know nothing about that. So, but of course, you want some good writing. Isabel Wilkerson's book, The Warmth of Other Suns, is just a beautiful, beautiful treatment of the migration story. I don't think we're going to get anything like that here. But and that's the other thing. I mean, she is first and foremost, as I understand it, a poet. And the writing doesn't feel particularly eloquent or lyrical to me. It's just kind of plain, but I don't know her poetry, so maybe that is,
That's a good question.
I think for the historical parts to me are captivating with her use of language and writing. And those for me so far are the only, the early historical pieces that we read.
Yeah, you're right.
The writing is totally different. And that writing in those early parts are even different than what she wrote about the mother. I enjoyed the story about the mother, but the language, it didn't draw me into the story where I said, oh, I want to know more. I still want to know what happened to Miko in his land. You know what I'm saying? Or the woman that was kidnapped. I thought her name was Belle. I thought she changed her name to Belle. The young lady that was free. What was her name?
Was it Beauty?
Beauty.
Oh, I thought she changed it to Belle. That's why I couldn't find her in the lineage. But anyway, the young lady that was free and got kidnapped. The story was fascinating. And I want to get back to those stories because I like the writing of it. And
Yeah.
I could picture it when you say lyrical. I could imagine the scenarios of the story, and I'm
Well, yeah.
yeah. So
Like I can still see that passage that she wrote about the middle passage.
right,
You know, was you know, the most beautiful treatment of that situation
mm-hmm.
I've ever read. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, you know, I mean, she's got some skills,
Right.
but yeah, I agree, Karen. It's when she goes into the modern piece of it that she changes. You know, obviously intentionally so, but you know, but it leaves something to be desired. So, all right, Karen. Well, thank you for trying.
Yes, you did. You gave it a good college try, the good graduate school try.
Yes.
And you brought so much beautiful commentary to our journey so far.
Oh,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, sorry I got to bail on y'all, but
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, to me, the book group experience above all should be enjoyable.
Right.
You know, and so if it's not, you know, then I mean, I just don't believe in doing things that I don't enjoy. It's just ridiculous. Life is too short.
That's right.
But you know, but yeah, no, it's not that I'm not enjoying the book. I am enjoying the book, but it's candy. Who was it, Gio, that said it's candy? You know, so
it's written for a particular person in mind, and probably not the persons who have as much historical experience as you and Karen. You know, on the topics that are presented. So
yeah,
maybe it's the right book for somebody.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I enjoyed the fellowship with you all. I really did. I'm gonna miss you, ladies.
Yeah.
Well, feel free to stop in anytime. You know, if we start reading, you know, whole sections at a time. I mean, I think there are 11 songs or 12 songs, and we're on song 5.
Oh, okay.
So we may be done in a couple of months.
Right.
As we turbocharge this mother.
You know, I am taking some speed reading lessons. I mean,
yeah. So, you know, feel free to pop in anytime.
Okay.
And you know, I guess we need to start figuring out also what we might want to do next. So, you know, so I'll probably schedule a planning meeting at some point, a private meeting, so we can kind of figure it out.
Right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All righty. Good night.
Okay, Karen.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you for providing this forum. I really appreciate it, Michelle. I really appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay.
Good night.
See y'all later.
Okay.